I'm here with the 10th part of the International Transportation Training. I have dedicated the 10th part of the training to getting familiar with special economic zones and free trade zones, so you can get to know these two concepts and understand the differences between them.
Where is a special economic zone, or SEZ? Special economic zones, often called SEZs, are specific areas that are established to promote economic growth and development. These zones are set up in both regional and international markets, which means they can be located near borders to facilitate trade with other countries or within the interior of a nation to support local economies. SEZs are not only entry points for goods, services, and investments, but they can also be found entirely within a country, sometimes far from international borders, to help stimulate economic activity in those regions. The creation of SEZs serves different purposes, such as encouraging exports, attracting foreign investment, and supporting industrialization. These zones offer a range of advantages, including tax incentives, simplified customs procedures, and improved infrastructure, all designed to make them more attractive to businesses and investors. In the next slide, we will review together the various purposes and many benefits that SEZs provide. Among the most notable special economic zones that we can mention within Iran are the Keshem Special Economic Zone, the Salafchigan Special Economic Zone, the Imam Airport Special Economic Zone, and there are many other special economic zones. In this slide, we want to talk about the objectives of special economic zones, focusing on 9 of the main objectives. We've listed them for you in this section. Number 1, supporting economic activities. 2, establishing international trade relations and stimulating the regional economy. 3, production and processing of goods. 4, technology transfer. 5, non-oil exports. 6, job creation. 7, attracting and encouraging domestic and foreign investment. 8, re-export. And 9, foreign transit, or what we call transshipment and transfer of goods. Special economic zones have a number of advantages, and when you establish a company, in fact, in a special economic zone, or if you carry out certain activities in a special economic zone, you will benefit from a number of advantages, such as free issuance of construction and completion permits, compliance with the labor laws of free trade and industrial zones in special economic zones, import of production line machinery and essential administrative equipment without customs duties, customs exemption up to the value added threshold, and payment of customs duties on the excess, the value added of foreign parts in production, and no time limit for storing goods in special economic zones. These are among the advantages that you can actually benefit from even more in these zones. So where are the free trade zones? A free trade zone is an area that is usually and most often located inside or adjacent to a port. And in these zones, free trade with other parts of the world is permitted. Within this geographical area, the customs regulations of the country's customs territory are not enforced. And to facilitate the process of importing and exporting goods, as well as to support the country's domestic industry and attract new technologies in production and development. In fact, these points and these free trade zones are established at customs locations and border points of the country. These zones, like special economic zones, have certain advantages and have been created with specific objectives, which we will review together in the following slide. What was the purpose of establishing free trade zones? One is to attract foreign investment, another is to create new job opportunities, to earn foreign currency income, and to increase the country's exports, to achieve advanced technology, to absorb idle domestic liquidity and help control inflation, and to alleviate deprivation in certain regions that have the potential for growth and development. These have been among the goals that led to the establishment of free trade zones in the country. Again, if I'm not mistaken, there are about 7 or 8 free trade zones in our country, like the Anzali Free Zone, Kish Free Zone, Shahid Rajeh Free Zone, and others. What are the advantages of free trade zones? tax exemptions, exemption from interest and customs duties, no unnecessary administrative and customs formalities, and ease in export and import processes by attracting foreign investment and transferring technology. You've probably heard that when you have a product inside a free trade zone, you are exempt from paying interest, duties, and customs fees or from paying taxes. You are exempt. There are also certain formalities you don't have to deal with. Very often you'll notice that many of your customers are interested in taking their goods to free trade zones and handling their customs clearance there. All of this is because there are certain exemptions in free trade zones, and in fact, customs clearance is easier for them there, and they can handle their business more smoothly. In this slide, which is our final slide, I've listed the most important differences between free trade zones and special economic zones. Visa regulations for foreign nationals in special economic zones are based on the country's internal rules. That's how it is. But in free trade zones, in fact, visas are issued to them right at the entry border. So as you can see, the conditions for foreign nationals are actually easier in free trade zones. Exactly. The sale of goods in special economic zones is only possible for foreign nationals, but in free trade zones, both foreign and domestic nationals can make purchases. They have the right to buy. There is a 15-year tax exemption in free trade zones. It exists. But in special economic zones, tax discounts are calculated exactly according to the country's internal regulation. So we see that once again, tax exemptions in free trade zones offer much better conditions. And the labor and social insurance regulations for employing foreign nationals in free trade zones are subject to a set of specific regulations unique to that zone, whereas in special economic zones, they follow the country's internal regulations. So with a quick overview in this slide, we can see that the conditions for exemptions and certain matters in free trade zones are much easier and more convenient for traders compared to special economic zones. You could say, in a way, they are more advantageous, but of course, special economic zones also have their own unique benefits, and in specific cases, they can offer their own particular advantages.